Hey guys, it's Steph here again today. And today, I'm gonna be doing my first scary video. I have my candle here. I have my scary music in the background. So here we go. I'm getting this story from Ghost Stories of Virginia. This one's called The Devil Dog. It has been said that in some parts of Virginia, the devil will occasionally take it upon himself to visit certain individuals who are in their deathbed. To merit such attention from the Dark Prince himself, these individuals would have been especially wicked souls throughout their lives. The earthly actions of these men and women were so vile, so heinous, pernicious, that none in the community had ever any doubt they'll be toasting their toes in the afterlife. It is these individuals who are the breath, their last, get the dubious pleasure of a formal welcome to the rest of their eternity by none other than Lucifer himself. The form he takes, the devil dog. This account comes from the westernmost point of the state of West Virginia, somewhere in Lee, Wise, or Scott County. Sometimes before the Civil War, it is said that there was a Virginian who was fully and completely, undeniably, and unforgivably reprehensible. Born wealthy, he was an investor layout. He made a practice of casually killing his slaves for nothing more than sport. He reportedly refused them a proper burial, once telling one or two of his field slaves to put his victim in the ground whenever they had time away from their other tasks. What more than brute, this brute was married to no less than 5 times. He had no idea how right he was that he would get. He had already been judged. Hellfire awaited. He had no idea how right he was. One day he became too sick to care for himself, and his neighbors came to prepare his deathbed. They put out crisp white sheets and did what they could to ease the man's passing. By all accounts, he took his time, wheezing and coughing. He held on to life longer than anyone thought he was capable. Clutching his bedpost and hollering at the ceiling that he would not go out without a fight. The old man challenged God to come down and show himself, so that he might get a better look at who was robbing him of everything he had. For those who were looking after him, this was high drama, watching his wicked old man rail against his mortal bonds. After all, he was one of the region's most powerful men, and some people began to wonder the Almighty might indeed make a showing for this man's benefit. Sinful as he was, he had risen in wealth and rank. His caregivers grew increasingly uneasy at the mouth-frothing invective, the taunts, the rants, and from him were vile. Surely the Almighty would not let it pass without response. If he would not come down to address this vile dying man, to summon among his angelic hosts a divine messenger, gleaming and terrible, could put the sinner in his place. In the end, a messenger did come, but it was not one from God. And it did not say a single word. It came around midnight, when the man's furious litany had become a tired drone. His health had deteriorated rapidly, and no one was expecting him to make it through the night. It was quiet in the old man's chamber. All the caretakers sat still, hushed, in the now inevitable passing. If indeed there was going to be some sort of divine response, it would have to come soon, because he would not live much longer. Silence was broken by a sound outside the door. Something was shuffling down the hall, sniffing under the door, scratching at the threshold. At that moment, everyone in the room was overcome by dread, a preternatural terror that seized them. They all turned to the door, even the old man. He quit his muttering and sat up, staring wide-eyed at the entrance. His voice was low when he said, "So he's finally come." But it was no messenger from God that came into the room. One more hard scratch at the door and it swung open. There at the threshold was an enormous black dog. The biggest animal any of them had ever seen. It stood over 4 feet tall, on the shoulders with a coal-colored coat and eyes of fire, color of the setting sun. It looked at no one but the old man as it padded into the room, its burning stare fixed angrily on the emancipated Virginian. He had been concocting elaborate against his maker for the last several days, but now he was only able to produce one word: no. "Help me, it's the devil. The devil has come to take me," he cried. The dog stood fast, and none dared lift a hand against him. It did not move, but only watched as the man thrashed in his bed, trying to free himself of the sheets and escape his deathbed. He never made it. His heart stopped, and he slumped lifeless on his bed, and his horror filled his eyes, sat upon the towering dog before him. As soon as he stopped breathing, the dog fell back on 4 legs, turned and left the room without a single look at the amazed witnesses it left behind, thus passing, the evil old man who has nothing left but misery in his wake. So that's the first one. That one wasn't as scary. I'm gonna try to find some scarier ones, but I hope you guys enjoyed. See you later. Bye bye.